Hey everybody, Scotty G here with Listen Up. Today we're going to have some fun. We're going to do through some basic Turntable 101 setup on this brand new Denon DP-3000 turntable. Outstanding turntable, direct drive. This is a number of the parts that the turntable comes with. Not this stuff over here. I'm just going to give you a quick setup on this. So number one is anytime you're setting up a turntable, I always suggest rolling up your sleeves. Getting rid of any non-essential jewelries and such. Some of these cartridges are an awful lot of money. You know, if you mistakenly snag them, takes the fun out of turntable setup. So put all this stuff away here. All right, now we're ready to dive into this. So first thing first, we're going to put the platter. It's a fairly heavy-duty aluminum platter on top of the spindle. Included with this turntable is a rubber mat. So it's Denon on one side, kind of beveled on the other. You can do it either way. I like to do it on that side there. You can also use other accessory mats. This turntable also comes with a nice little record weight. But again, you can use other ones too. So turntable, you always start off with mounting the cartridge and aligning it on what's called the head shell. We've already mounted the cartridge to this turntable. This is a Denon DL-110 moving magnet cartridge. This is available in both high output and low output. So if you have support for moving coil, you want to order this as a low output cartridge. If you're plugging this into a AVR or something with just basic moving magnet setup, then you want to order this as a high output cartridge. When you order the cartridge and when you get the turntable, it comes with this overhang gauge. And you won't be able to see it from there, but it's marked up to 50 millimeters. That's where we want the tip of the diamond to align on this. Have my screwdriver here. So very carefully lower the stylus force gauge. You want to make sure these screws are reasonably loose so you can move this back and forth. There we go. There we go. And then this slides right over the base of this bayonet head shell. And again, we want to line that style, that cartridge, the tip of that diamond needs to be right at that 50 millimeter point. And then once you do that, you want to make sure the cartridge is square in that head shell. It's really important that when the diamond Perfect. When the diamonds sit down in that groove, the diamond itself is perpendicular to the sides of the record groove. So we're going to tighten that up. Again, you want to be really careful on this. When you look at a cartridge, there's a little metal rod coming out of the cartridge. That's called a cantilever. You never want to bend that cantilever in any way. At the end of that cantilever is the actual diamond itself. And there is a specific angle at which that diamond needs to live off the record groove. It's called a stylus rake angle. This turntable allows for making those adjustments that we'll get into here shortly. So this attaches to the end of the tone arm. And there's a little screw here that you secure in place. This is now locked on the end of the tone arm. This is a counterweight here. This is the type that comes with this Denon turntable. Also comes with an accessory weight that threads onto the back of this tone arm. This is so that you can support a wide variety of cartridges. There aren't any standards when it comes to cartridge other than this 1/2 inch spacing here. Some cartridges are taller than others, some are wider than others, some are heavier than others. So it's nice having this kind of capability when setting up a turntable. This weight has a ring that's marked. We want that to go towards the front of the tone arm. And then in this particular case, this whole thing screws onto the tone arm here. There we go. And usually what you want to do is very carefully you want to adjust this so that everything floats even. So notice as I'm rotating this weight forward, there's more weight that's applied to the cartridge, pushing it down. There we go. Yeah, see here it floats just a little too high, so just a little bit more. What I like about this turntable and this tone arm is it's a real sensitive tone arm, so you can get a real nice balance to it. So that is what I would call zero buoyancy. So this ring at the back, there's a line on this tone arm, and you want to adjust this ring so that it sits to 0. Tracking weight, which differs from cartridge to cartridge, on this particular cartridge is 1.8 grams. So you want to move this thing forward. That's a half. That's a 1. That's a 1.5. And then each little slash here is another 1/10 of a gram. So 1.6, 1.7, 1.8. We at Listen Up sell devices like this Project Measure It. That actually is a small scale, a digital scale that you can put on here, and you can actually confirm that the weight you've set this at is, in this case, indeed 1.8 grams. So I'm going to cue this up. Always want to be careful with your cartridge, make sure it's always cued up. And I'm going to drop this on there, and it is at 1.762, so pretty good. Okay, so that's adjustment number 1. Adjustment number 2 on a turntable is called anti-skate, and it's a force that helps to keep the cartridge in the middle of the groove as the turntable is spinning. I'm pulling that cartridge into the center of the groove. On this turntable, the anti-skate function is done by this piece right here. When you push it in, anti-skate is active. When you pull it out, anti-skate is off. So when we're doing the adjustment on the tone arm, the counterweight adjustment, we want anti-skate off. Now that it's in, we want to turn this in, push it in, and then on this knob that I'm twisting here, it's also marked. So because we put this at 1.8, we want to put this at 1.8. So that's 1, that's 1. That's 1.5. That's about 1.8 right there. So tracking force first. You always want to make sure you don't push too much pressure on that cantilever, otherwise you can damage your cartridge. Once that's done, anti-skate weight second. What's cool about this turntable is that it actually allows for an adjustment called VTA, which is vertical tracking angle. And that's what we use to adjust the stylus rake angle of the stylus. To set stylus rake, you need a microscope. You need a USB microscope. You need something that is fairly accurate, fairly sensitive, that you can look in and make sure that stylus rake angle is correct. Usually it's about 92 degrees. But it depends on, again, on the cartridge. In this case, what we want to do is just try to make sure that the tone arm itself is parallel with the top of the record. You don't want the stylus to be up like this, and you don't want the back of the tone arm to be up like this. You want to make sure it's fairly flat. That is done via this rod back here, which we loosen, and then as we twist this one way or the other, loosen this up. As we twist this one way or the other, you'll see that the tone arm itself, this pivot point in the back, actually raises and lowers. So easy to do, and we'll again flip the stylus gauge up. And so I'm not in front of you guys, I'm going to view it from this side where I would normally view it from this side. So we'll cue it up, we'll bring the diamond over, we'll gently rest it on top of the record. We will then want to take a look at the profile. Yeah, and this thing's high, right? This is like a race car here. So we want to bring this pivot point down in the back. So by pushing this forward, you can bring that pivot point down in the back, and you want to adjust it so that the tone arm itself or the flat part of the head shell itself seems to be parallel with the top of the record. There are tools you can use for this. In my toolbox I have this guy right here. It's always nice to have tools. I actually have a small bubble level that you can put on top of that head shell, and it'll help you to determine if that's flat. I've also got a little scale. You can buy these on Amazon and stuff like that you can put on this record, and this scale will let you also tell how flat that is. Once these are basically set up, though, you always want to do the rest of your adjustments by ear. You listen for sibilance, listen for the tightness of the bass. I would tell you this thing is pretty much ready to take for a test drive. Your next step then is to, again, gently raise this up again, move it over, park it into this head shell and this tone arm rest, and then you want to screw this piece in place. And that locks this whole thing up. So not only you can't adjust it, but there's no give, there's no flexibility in that. This is ready to play. So from this point, attach your tone arm wires, attach your ground wire, attach your power cord. You want to feed this into a system that has a phono stage built into it, or you want to feed it into an outboard phono stage. This does not have a phono stage built into it. In the case of these cartridges, you'd probably want one that supports moving coil. A turntable of this caliber, you're probably going to come across a moving coil cartridge at some point. If you have old records that you're concerned about playing with your nice cartridge, if you have kids that you're concerned about playing with your nice cartridge, you can remove this head shell. Again, it's what we call a bayonet head shell. Denon sells this as an accessory. DS Audio makes a real nice one that has VTA or azimuth adjustment to it. Ortophone makes some really nice ones that have azimuth adjustment to it. We can help you with those. Azimuth is the ability to adjust this part of the cartridge, making sure that diamond again is perfectly perpendicular to the record groove. Pull that one aside. Pull this one out. This is actually the nicer of these two cartridges. This is on a Technics head shell, and this guy then goes right in here and locks in place. Doing this, though, because it's a different head shell, a different cartridge, most likely a different profile, you're going to want to recalibrate the tone arm. So you're going to want to readjust the counterweight, readjust tracking force, and if need be, readjust the vertical tracking angle to make sure that that's dialed in. You know, it takes 5-10 minutes to do it. It's great to have these kind of tools, but you can get pretty close just with the way the turntable is set up as is. And then again, if we have a heavier cartridge and we need more weight in the back to compensate for it, this piece here will screw right into the back of the tone arm. Put that guy on there, and you're ready to play.